What is up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 60 of Thinktwice, the magic and pop culture show hosted by me, Justin Parnell, and my co-host, Ali.
Maggie May.
No, that was last week.
Maggie, she's back again.
Well, I didn't feel like Maggie contributed as much as I was hoping that she would last week.
Well, she's got to get her beauty sleep.
Yeah, but she does it during the podcast. That's not a good co-host.
That's an excellent co-host.
But she's not contributing to the conversation. That's why I think you're a better co-host.
Right, but like she keeps me going. Like I look over, I see her laying down in a sleep. I'm like, okay, I need to get like energy to keep going. You know.
So you're stealing her energy?
She's
sleeping?
She's my inspiration. She's my muse. She's my Maggie-born muse.
Maybe you should rename her Maggie Muse. Anyway, Ollie, last week, I already know what you did, and I think most people know what you did if you listened to the podcast last week. You played in the legacy portion of GP Richmond. Why don't you tell us what happened?
I did. I played in the legacy portion of GP Richmond. I had a round two feature. I had a round one feature match.
You did. That's true.
They tried to, but I had to go up there like, yo, I have buys. So anyways, I have some error with my DCI number. I got to fix my DCI number and my regardless. Anyways, so round two at feature match. It was on camera. You guys should go back and watch it. It was pretty great. I played Soul-Type Veteran Explorer. I was playing against Eldrazi. And
so was your opponent.
My opponent was playing Eldrazi.
No, I was saying your opponent was also playing against Eldrazi.
He was one Eldrazi, yeah. It was pretty cool because game one I got to win with one of my flashy cards in Karn Liberated. Then game two I got to win with my other flashy card, which was Emrakul the Promised End, which left him with a literal 0 permanence after I get to mind slaver him.
Yeah, flawless victory.
Yes, I finished day one at 6-2.
Yep.
And then day two I only won 3 out of the 7, so ended up at 9-6.
Yep.
And 2 of those losses I could have won. I just
unfamiliar with the format.
Yeah, and I just messed up. One was against lands, where we went to turns, and EOT, or I have Double Block Edict. He has a Dark Depths token. He made it by end step. I go to after his draw step, I surgical extract his Thespian stage to get all of them out. And I have one in my hand is Double Block Edict and surgical extraction. And I go ahead and surgical extraction his Dark Depths, which was not even needed. So then when he attacks me with his Dark Depths, or 2020, I Double Block Edict him, and he crop rotates in response. And I knew that he had dried arbor because the first surgical extraction.
Yeah.
So if I had targeted crop rotation with my second surgical, even if he responds with crop rotation, I can respond by Double Block Edict and killing his 2020.
Yeah.
His Merilage. So I just messed up.
That's tough. That's a tough matchup too.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's okay. Yeah, I guess it is. I'd have won otherwise, but that was kind of miserable.
Yeah. So, are you going to be playing this deck in the future?
Yeah, I definitely will be. Gonna make some minor changes, but I really like the deck. It was a blast to play. It's just, I don't know. It's hard to explain. It does so much, and like I enjoyed almost all my matches except the ones where I got wastelanded out of the game, which is surprising, but it still happens.
Yeah, sure. I mean, in Legacy, it doesn't take much for someone to kind of make a deck become unbalanced for the first few turns and then make it incredibly difficult to come back. I don't think that can happen to every deck, you know?
Yeah, for sure. But I really enjoyed it. I had a blast playing the deck. So thank you, Parnell, for the cards.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed you doing well and got to watch you a little bit on day one. The top 8 of Grand Prix Richmond, the Legacy portion, I'm really not concerned about the standard portion. We're really just going to talk about Legacy just for this part. A lands deck, a Grixis control deck, an Eldrazi deck, a blue-white Stoneblade deck, blue-white Death Shadow, Temur Delver, and 2 Miracles decks. If you'll notice, those are, for the most part, all of the decks that I outlined last week. The only 2 that I didn't talk about were well, we talked about Tiber Delver, but I poo-pooed it a lot.
Yeah.
I still don't think the deck is good, despite this person making top 8 with it. I'm not saying that someone can't top 8 a tournament. I just don't think that this is a deck that can win a tournament. And then the colorless Eldrazi deck, which in retrospect, I probably should have put that in tier 2 and replaced that with Turbo Depths. But either way, I think I did pretty well with the guesses as far as placing the stuff into tiers. So pat myself on the back.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you. I was also GB Richmond. I was vending at the Star City Games booth the entire time, but
yeah, you were slammed.
We were not slammed. We weren't slammed. That's a joke. For those of you that didn't come to GP Richmond, which was a lot of you, it was an interesting event because there were significantly less people than I think everyone's expecting. But for those of you that did, Ali and I, both together and independently, actually talked to a bunch of you that listened to the podcast.
Yeah, we did.
And it's super duper awesome. This was the first event that we gave out our tokens to people if they let us know that they listened to the podcast. So we gave out a handful of those and signed a bunch of them. So if you got a token, enjoy. And if you are going to be in an event that Ali and I are going to be at in the future, ask us for a Justin or an Ali token, and we will provide them to you happily. Ali even got to sneak a face down Thinktwice token on stream for a second as his clue token.
Clue token.
Yeah.
For like a split second. Yeah.
Hey, that's all good. That's all good. You just need that screenshot.
Yeah, they're like, please use a clue. Use this clue. It's like, okay.
You're like, no problem.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'll do it. All right. So we had question of the week last week. The question was, in your spare time, what other type of game do you like to play? We said on the podcast, board games or video games. On the poll, I added other card games because I considered that might be something that people would select. Ultimately, people only put 5% for other card games, 26% for board games, and 69% for video games.
Yeah, we got everything got demolished by video games. 70% basically.
That's... it tripled up. Up board games, which is, I guess, surprising.
I mean, I used to be that way when I was younger, honestly.
I was too, for sure.
But now I've switched. In my old age, I've switched to more board games and video games. So yeah. Maybe it's an age thing.
It could be, because I mean, there was definitely probably until, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, probably like 6 or 7 years ago, honestly, where I kind of stopped when I stopped playing video games, and then I just started enjoying board games. I kind of was kind of enlightened to board games beyond, like
Monopoly
Risk and Monopoly. Yeah, like the level 0, the board games you can like buy at Walmart.
Yeah.
And then then
that's
start playing better. Like the Settlers of Catan and then Dominion and stuff like that, and then you're kind of just enlightened to this whole other world of board games. But you also, you need other people to play with them, usually in person, and that's not a realistic thing for some people, as you alluded to last week.
Oh, absolutely. Yep. I mean, even now, like, I want to play more board games, but I play way more video games than I do board games.
Yeah.
Even now. So it's just easier.
So if you're listening on one of our great platforms, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, Google Play Music, please be sure to leave us a review or a little 5-star rating. We would greatly appreciate that if you could just take a short time out of your day to do so. And if you're listening on a platform that you wish you were listening on a different platform, let us know what platform that is. We like to expand our reach as much as we possibly can. So we want to find out what you guys want to hear us on. And if we can find that out, we will do our best to make that happen. Okay. Ollie, we're going to be heading into our first section in a moment. This is something we talked about briefly on the podcast, and this conversation came up in our Patreon Discord channel, which of course you can get on the $1 Augur of Bolus tier, get you early access to the show, as well as access to our Patreon Discord channel and those tokens we were talking about. And this was actually about rotating cards. So basically cards that are rotating out of standard, and then what you should do with those. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about things from Kaladesh and Amonkhet block and what to do with those cards going forward. Ali, I want to break this up into two sections because even though I was obviously just talking about cards that, are rotating out, you had brought up when we were talking about this segment that on the same hand, a lot of other cards' values change that aren't rotating, but maybe they didn't see the play that they're going to in the future. So first we'll go through cards that you should hold on to and not sell or trade off necessarily, that are going to be rotating out, and then we'll transition into cards that maybe you should be looking to get a hold of or explore playing with as we move into new standard. How's that sound? Okay, cool.
You are the king of value, so...
Exactly. So I'm just going to kind of go through each of the 4 sets that are rotating out, and then we can kind of do the opposite for the new standard. So a general rule for me is if I find that I'm in possession of planeswalkers that are rotating out or rare lands, so lands that are at the rare rarity, those are things that I don't really ever want to get rid of because they're going to be at their lowest point right now at rotation. And rotation doesn't refer to like right now, we're just a few weeks away, but rotation usually starts from a financial perspective about 10 weeks out. So we're about at the halfway point of kind of the dip, where cards have already 4 or 5 weeks ago have started to take their decline into their rotation prices. Rare lands and planeswalkers, we have a couple. Obviously, every set has planeswalkers. And we have 2 cycles of rare lands: the fast lands from Kaladesh and the cycling lands from Amonkhet. Those are cards that are going to be at their lowest value right now. And specifically, I want to point out that the fast lands from Kaladesh, if you look at the Scars of Mirrodin fast lands, some of those prices are very crazy. And I know they have not been reprinted, and that's an effect of that. But these are cards that are only going to go up in value. And you actually see cards specifically that start to go up in value immediately as soon as rotation hits. This happens to, obviously, cards you're seeing play in Modern, but specifically with land cycles. Enemy-colored land cycles hold their value better than allied-colored land cycles. This is just a historic fact with Magic. So the enemy-colored land cycle that you have in Kaladesh, those are things that you definitely want to hold on to, or even maybe try to get a hold of if you don't have them right now. So outside of that, lands and planeswalkers, I'm just going to go through a list for each of the sets that I feel like are cards that you certainly don't want to get rid of, or maybe try to get at their lowest value. And Ollie, if you have anything to add, feel free to jump in. I'll kind of pause in between each of the sets to talk about those.
All right,
cool. So for Kaladesh, Kaladesh is an incredibly powerful set, and I tried to narrow down as much as I could to really focus on the cards that I'm certain on. Artifact sets historically have always held their value really well. Really anything with artifacts matters cards hold their value really well. The cards that I have identified specifically as ones that are either already on their way up at rotation or cards that over the next year or so are going to do that is Torrential Gearhulk, Inventor's Fair, Panharmonicon, Aetherflux Reservoir, Gonti, Lord of Luxury, Bulmak Courier, Kambal, Lord of Allocation, Smuggler's Copter, and Paradoxical Outcome. I would also add on to this list Aetherflux, Aetherworks Marvel. Even though this is a banned card in Standard, if they ever print more energy cards, or if something happens, this is a card that was so good it was banned in Standard, and it's a mythic rare, and it's essentially a bulk price right now. And I'm not saying to like buy a bunch of these, but if they in like a supplementary product or something changes with how they print cards, if energy becomes a viable thing in modern, and it's only like a handful of cards away from that, that's another card that could be.
Was like the best payoff for energy? So
exactly, and that really won't change. And outside of those rares and mythics, there's actually a bunch of really good uncommons in this set, and I think the three best ones are Blossoming Defense, Ceremonious Rejection, and Foundry Inspector. Ceremonious Rejection will at some point be a format staple in at least Modern and Legacy. It is played in Vintage as well. Same with Foundry Inspector. That's also another card that's played in Vintage. And then Blossoming Defense. Those effects tend to be really powerful. Hexproof plus Pump. Obviously, right now we see Infect as a deck that utilizes those specifically. But that's an uncommon, and even though it's like a lot of these cards have been reprinted specifically in the Challenger decks, that doesn't mean that those cards won't have significant value down the road. So those are all the ones I have for Kaladesh. Anything you want to add on Kaladesh?
No, those all make sense to me.
Okay, awesome. So moving on to Aether Revolt. Aether Revolt is another powerful set, obviously the Mimic Kaladesh. Specifically, the cards that I'm looking at are Baral, Heroic Intervention, Metallic Mimic, Paradox Engine, although Paradox Engine started its climb up about 6 months ago. So we've already missed the boat on that one, really. Scrap Trawler, Whir of Invention, Lifecrafter's Bestiary, and Walking Ballista. Walking Ballista also kind of started its ascent very recently, and the floor of the price of that card we've already reached. So, but just keep in mind, if you're interested in having this card, this is the time to get it rather than in the future, because it will continue to go up. Those are the rares and mythics, and then on the uncommons, there's only a couple. Fatal Push is an obvious one, but I think people, because this card is in standard, this is helping keep the price down. This is the second most played removal spell in Modern after Lightning Bolt. And there have been times when it has eclipsed Lightning Bolt as the first. Path to Exile has been printed 6 times. Lightning Bolt has been printed over 10 times. Those are both, between $5 and $10 cards, depending on the versions. Fatal Push is not going to be lower than that. So, I have no doubt that at some point, Fatal Push will get a reprint. But Fatal Push is an interesting spot because it has a keyword mechanic on it in Revolt, where Lightning Bolt and Path to Exile can show up in any set at any point randomly. And they don't always do that with mechanic cards. So it's in a really interesting spot where it's got to be specifically identified as a really unique spot to reprint for them to do that. So if you
buy them up,
if you don't have your playset of Fatal Pushes, you still have a little bit of time while it's at rotate, because it's obviously it sees a lot of play in every format. So there's a lot moving around in the market, so the price is pretty stable. But I mean, at some point, it's going to start going up, and you're going to be like, "Why is Fatal Push going up?" Well, there are not as many moving around. So outside of Fatal Push, Winding Constrictor is an excellent card for multi-format use, Modern and Commander. Excellent use, and that's a really cheap uncommon right now, and it's also really powerful. Ali, any other comments on Aether Revolt? Obviously, surprisingly, a lot of Aether Revolt cards are already staples in format. Scrap Trawler, Whir of Invention, Baral have seen significant play in Modern. Heroic Intervention, Paradox Engine have seen significant play in Commander. Same with Lifecrafter's Bestiary. Metallic Mimic is a tribal card, and then of course Walking Ballista sees play in formats where you play Magic. So
sure, I think they're all good. I think the weakest one is probably the Heroic Intervention, but everything.
Do you know how much that card is?
No.
Yeah, you should look it up because it's the second most expensive card on the list of all the cards I just listed.
Why?
I just told you why. Weren't you listening?
Commander.
Yes. You know what the first most expensive card on the list was? Paradox Engine.
Engine.
Because of Commander also. Yeah.
Oh, geez. $5. All right. That's
Yeah.
more than Fatal Push. It's crazy.
I know. That's my point. Yeah. So, but either way, that's a card that's going to continue to go up. All right. So for Amonkhet, Amonkhet of all of these sets is actually the worst long-term like speculation target, which really surprised me because it's a large set. Usually those hold up better than small sets. And as I was going through and putting this together, I was actually surprised at really not necessarily like how great Ether Revolt and Hour Devastation were, even though they're actually both above average for small sets. Amonkhet's pretty bad. You don't have a lot. You have the cycle lands, the 5 cycle lands. Those are all really cheap right now. I think those are definitely ones to get. Specifically, irrigated farmland. This was in the challenger deck, and it's like nothing. It's like $1 right now. Those are lands with basic land types. They'll be good. Those will be good in Commander literally until the end of time. So that's a low cost. I don't want to call it speculation, but because I don't think you should play Magic like the stock market. You're ultimately, if you have enough money to do that, you should just do it outside of Magic.
Actual place at the stock market.
Yeah, exactly. But if you're buying cards, so you're like, I want to have these at their lowest price. I want to have 4 of them. I think those are all good kits. Now there are 2 specific cards in this set that I think are really, really good buys, and that are I'm 100% sure are going to go up in the future. And those 2 cards are Anointed Procession. This one obviously is tried and true. We know Parallel Lives, and its other effects like that. Obviously, the bigger ones, Primal Vigor, Doubling Season, speak for themselves for Commander play. And then As Foretold is another one. This is a Mythic Rare too, so Mythic Rares need a little. Don't take as much juice to kind of get going. This is like a kind of a combo card that could, if it ever pops up in a tier 1 deck in Modern, this thing will just be $30 like the next day. So outside of that, Prowling Sepipard is a good one for the future. It's pretty cheap right now. It's got good stats, has a good window for playability in Modern at some point. Right now, Humans is kind of the deck, which has supplanted like Collected Company decks, but this, if Permission gets better in Modern, this is probably the permission-based or anti-permission-based card you want to be playing in creature decks.
It's better than Guy's Herald for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for 1 more green mana, you get +3/+2, and it has like 1 other ability.
Yeah, it's playable. Yeah, it's playable.
Yeah, and then of course, this is an easy one, but all of the gods are pretty good for Amonkhet. And even if they're not good necessarily, these are all like future or current Commander playable cards. Hazard's already expensive. That's the one that I think is you're going to start seeing play in Modern over the course of time, and it has seen some play in Modern already.
Yeah, like Jund decks and other grinding decks.
Yeah, exactly. And then Ronos is another one that has also seen play in Modern, although it's been less than Hazard. But even the other ones, even Bontu, which I think is the worst one, Aketra, which is the second worst one, and then Kefnet, those are all less good, but they're also pretty cheap right now. So those are fine pickups if you just want to have them. And that's really all for Amonkhet for me, as far as I'm concerned.
It's still a decent amount.
Yeah, and I do want to say that I think of every single card that I'm naming, the number 1 home run guaranteed card is in this set, which is Anointed Procession.
Yeah. All the doubling stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then for Hour of Devastation, Hour of Devastation actually surprised me. There's a lot of value to be had in Hour of Devastation, which I was actually shocked as I started going through the list. All right, Crested Sunmare, Mirage Mirror, Hollow One, Neheb the Eternal, Ramunap Excavator, Nimble Obstructionist, Scavenger Grounds, Torment of Hellfire, all 3 of the gods, Fraying Sanity, and Hour of Promise are all mostly rares, except for Neheb and the gods. And then the only uncommon is a Braid, but a Braid is a fantastic card. That's probably not going to go down anymore because that's already seeing play in virtually every other format.
Yep.
But the rest, go ahead.
I want to say it's basically like a better Dromogus command because it's just 1 color.
Yeah. I mean, this is a Braid is seeing play in literally every format.
Multi-format. Yeah.
He's played Modern, Legacy, Vintage. It's obviously a role player in those formats, but those I mean, so is Shattering Spree, and that's a like a $12 card. So, um, but a lot of these are either already see play. Hollow One obviously is in a tier one modern deck. Nimble Obstructionist has seen a lot more play in modern. Um, and then the rest of these are just excellent commander pickups. Crested Sunmare, Mirage Mirror, which is I think the second best, the second or third on this whole list. I think Anointed Procession, Mirage Mirror, and Panharmonicon are the three like slam dunk cards that will not possibly miss. There's nothing that could change that would make those not excellent pickups right now. But Crested Sunmare, Mirage Mirror, and have the Eternal, Ravnica Excavator, Torment of Hellfire, Frank Sanity, and Hour of Promise are all like basically like guaranteed commander cards. And then of course you have Scavenger Grounds, which I think is a good 60 card constructed deck or constructed card for the future. And then we have of course the Gods, which are just going to be popular in Commander. And Scarab God is powerful enough to see play in an Eternal format if it's right. If it gets grindy enough, I think it's possible, but that card has already reached its price floor as well.
Yeah.
All right, Ollie. Anything else on Hour Devastation, or anything else that you think I might have missed for cards to be on the lookout for as rotation approaches?
I mean, I think you most of them. The only one I like kind of comes to mind is Life Goes On, as an alternate way to like sideboard for modern, maybe to gain 8 life. Life goes on is the one that costs 1 green. It's like gain 4 life, and then Morbid. Not Morbid. Is it Morbid?
Is that's a common from Hour of Devastation, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's a common, I guess. I guess not worth anything.
Yeah, commons are pretty different from uncommons. I know that sounds obvious, but it takes a...
Okay, you're right. It is common.
It takes a significant amount of play or something crazy to happen for commons to break even like $1. Because even like heavily played commons and Eternal formats or Commander are like that were in booster pack sets are like $1 at most. That have been printed in like the last 5 years, and I think looking more than 5 years down the line is almost impossible for any sort of speculation purposes.
Sure. That's the only card that actually that stood out for me. Otherwise, you're pretty spot on.
Okay, awesome. All right, well, why don't you give us the rundown on cards that are not rotating that are going to see more play?
Okay, besides the obvious cards like Teferi, Karn,
that card sees no play right now,
and like Rekindling Phoenix, those cards I want to skip those cards because obviously those like things like Sell the Wreckage, Nexus to Fate, Cleansing Nova, those are all like obvious cards that are already pillars of the format that are going to continue to see play. So instead, I want to talk about cards that are powerful, but maybe they were overshadowed by another card or were pushed down because a card was legal. Like for example, I think Vance's Blasting Cannons is an excellent card, but there's no reason to play it because of Chandra. Chandra was basically a Blasting Cannons with different abilities. Vance's Blasting Cannons is a 1 red and 3 enchantment that's very similar to Outpost Siege. And then after you cast 3 spells in 1 turn, it transforms into Spitfire Bastion, which lets you tap it and pay 3 mana to bolt things. That's obviously very powerful. It's basically just like an Outpost Siege with a different, not just upside, but just different.
Yeah, it's just another card that has. I think we've actually seen a handful of those red cards, and this is just they all are like basically like a 1-turn Phyrexian Arena, and then they do something else.
Yeah, and this is amazing. So you don't even have to flip it. Like if your opponent has a Field of Ruin, maybe like, okay, you know what, I'm not flipping this. Or if you just want the cards, then you just don't flip it. But it's a very powerful card, and also with a very powerful effect. Another card I want to talk about is this one is depends on Goblin Chainwhirler. It's Heroic Reinforcements. Since we're going to Guilds of Ravnica, we know Boros is one of the guilds.
Yep.
Her heroic reinforcements puts 2 soldiers into play and gives with haste. It gives your team +1/+1. It's just 4 damage for 4 mana by itself. And then if you have anything like laying around, like let's say History of Benalia tokens or Legion's Landing or Sieging Commander, like whatever, you can just deal a ton of damage. But this also depends on Goblin Chamberlain, which I believe should see less play. I'm personally hoping that Guilds of Ravnica incentivizes people to play 2 colors, and the red decks lose a lot of their cards from Almaket and Kaladesh and all that stuff rotating. So we'll see. But this is just a very powerful card, I think. And then afterwards is Nicol Bolas the Ravager. Nicol Bolas saw play the first 2 weeks he was legal, but afterwards he kind of slid down and I see play. But we know one of the two guilds in the Guilds of Ravnica is going to be Izzet, so we'll get Steam Vents, and the other one I believe is Dimir, so you get Watery Grave.
Yep.
So the only thing you're missing is Blood Crypt, but you have Dragon Skull Summit, so it's not too bad. So I believe Nicol Bolas will see more play now, especially since he's already kind of seen play with more powerful cards in the format, like Chandra, Hazoret, etc. So I expect an uptick in Bolas decks. He basically got overshadowed by the Scarab God.
Yeah.
And that card's leaving now too, so.
And I think that there's going to be a couple, I think 3 primary shards rather than 2 colors that I think people are going to try to kind of gravitate towards. And I think one of those is Grixis because you have both Dimir and Izzet in Guilds of Ravnica. I think the other one is Sultai because you have Golgari and Dimir. And then I think the last one is, Jeskai.
Yes, that's the go-to control deck, I think.
Because exactly, that's the go-to control deck because you have Teferi, and then if you want Ral's Zarek or Ral's new Planeswalker card, which is similar in function to the Fairy, I think you have both of those. So I think Bolas is going to headline that Grixis style deck.
Yep, I agree. And speaking of dragons, Sarkhan is going to get better, and so is Dragon Sword. This is because of Braid's leaving. Dragon Sword is an excellent card. It's a 3-mana rock that, adds a declared mana, then draws you cards later in the game. This card was seeing French play, but now that Braid is gone, it's going to see a lot more play in my opinion. Like a 3-mana rock that accelerates you, basically like a Gift of Paradise, but instead of giving you life, it lets you draw cards later in the game, which is huge. So
yeah,
excellent card.
Very big.
Yep. We are losing Glorybringer. People demanding dragon is probably the go-to what people think about, but this also really depends on Goblin Chainwhirler. But if Goblin Chainwhirler sees a downtake just a little bit, I think Siege Commander will easily take the spot of the 5-drop over demanding dragon. This card is the only reason this card is not seeing play is because of Chainwhirler. Otherwise, this card would be all over the place. Especially since you can tutor it up with Militia Bugler or reanimate it with Ajani Adversary of Tyrants. And again, we're going to Boros, so this is could be a Boros top end.
Yeah.
And speaking of Ajani Adversary of Tyrants, I think it's another card that's going to be excellent. Again, Boros type deal, Militia Bugler. You have a ton of ways to attrition your opponent out. And Boros has I imagine it's going to have a lot of low to the ground creatures with Mentor that power 2 or less. So definitely keep an eye on that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. 10 years later, that we might be kind of headed towards another mid-range Boros deck that's good. That also has Siege Commander. The other one was with Revelark, and Ajani's kind of does a similar thing.
Yeah, it was called Boat Brew back then, I think.
Exactly, Boat Brew.
Yeah, a weird name, but yeah.
Yeah.
Next one is a card that I'm maybe a little biased to because it's near and dear to my heart. But with a Braid rotating out, and Izzet being one of the main guilds in the next set, Primal Amulet. Primal Amulet is a 4-cost artifact that raises the cost of all instants or sorceries by 1. Then, every time you cast an instant or sorcery, you put a counter on it. After you have 4, you can transform it and it becomes Primal Wellspring. Then Primal Wellspring adds any colored mana. and any instant sorcery spell you cast with it is copied. So this seems like it could go into some crazy blue-red deck with burn spells or Nexus of Fate, or with the new card that we see, that Fire Mines and Research. It's very Izzet-esque, and now being able to play it without being, getting blown up a braid is a pretty big upside. So I can see this card definitely coming back, or not coming back, but making
some waves.
Yeah. After this, we lose Cast Out. Cast Out is obviously a very good card, but the next go-to card is going to be Ixalan's Binding. Ixalan's Binding doesn't have Flash or Cycling, but the upside is you can literally lock your opponent out of the game, depending on what you exile. Like, some decks lean very hard on Teferi, others lean very hard on Nicol Bolas the Ravager, others lean, like, maybe Primal Amulet becomes a deck and you can exile Primal Amulet. Like just one or two bindings you can like literally like tear your opponent's hand apart in a weird way, or make them have dead draws. So binding is a very powerful card, but it's just slow. But basically what I'm saying is, even though it doesn't have flash, there's still upside to it. It's not like a strictly worse card.
Yeah. Well, and especially a lot of these other cards that you've talked about, specifically like Bolas and Sarkhan and Dragon's Horde, those are cards that you're generally going to want to play in multiples.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a good card that fights 4-ofs.
Yep, I agree with this.
Yep.
Next one is another card that I think is going to see more play because the Braid's gone. Treasure Map has already started seeing play, but it's going to see more play now because the Braid's gone. But also, it works very well in conjunction with Karn's Sign of Urza. It's the best artifact that like can just make your constructs huge, like 4/4s or 5/5s, right away without even just like it almost like curves into it.
Minimal effort.
Yeah, and it's a good way to filter and fix your mana. So like if you're playing like a 5-card Dragons deck, you can play Dragon's Horde, Sarkhan, Dragon Speaker, and some treasure maps. So and also going into Guilds of Ravnica, like Justin was saying earlier, there's probably gonna be Tri-Shard decks, and treasure map is good at mana fixing too. If you need them, if you need to use a treasure to fix your mana.
That's true.
And the last one, yet again, I feel like I'm like a broken record here. Because of Braid's gone, we got the biggest and baddest artifact in, I won't say history, but in Standard. The Immortal Sun. This card shuts off all other planeswalkers, so Teferi can't kill it. Vraska, Relic Seeker can't kill it. It gives all your creatures +1/+1. You draw an additional card on your draw step on your turn, and it reduces all the spells. Reduces the cost of all your spells by 1.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this card is absurd, and it was kind of unplayable again because getting this card of Braid is miserable. But now you can like shut off other planeswalkers, get a ton of value. It's a big card, so.
Yes.
If you have like basically this can be your quote unquote planeswalker if you're in colors that doesn't necessarily have a good planeswalker, like mono green, for instance, or maybe mono black.
Yeah, and I think you're going to be able to take advantage of that on a pretty regular basis, just because there's not going to be a ton of cards. And depends. Obviously, this depends on Ravnica, because really, there's 2 cards that we know of that are really going to be able to like interact with artifacts and enchantments. One of those you named is Ixalan's Binding.
Yep.
So, yeah.
The other one's Teferi, but Teferi can't interact with.
Yeah, I wasn't counting Teferi. For some reason, I'm blanking on the name. Oh my gosh. Thrashing Bronodon.
Oh yeah,
that's the other comp. Yeah, that's the other one that actually sees play.
Yes.
And I think that's going to continue to see play, because it doesn't seem like mono green is going to be. You're not going to be losing.
It might see a little less play with Heart of Kirin leaving and Scrapheaper leaving and all these
Yeah,
other big artifacts
yeah.
leaving, but
It's just gonna
still.
yeah, it's just gonna depend. But I mean that's a card that's tried and true that people know is good.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
3 mana, 3/4. But depending, people can like switch that up for like a prowling.
Step
No,
apart.
never mind. Never mind. That's leaving.
The card that I
Never
identified as
mind.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. Um, the only card that I want to add, and this is going to sound crazy because this is one of the best cards and one of the most expensive cards too in standard right now, but I actually think it's going to get even better than it is Search Rascanta.
Oh, for sure.
And that's a scary place when an already incredibly powerful card is going to get even more powerful.
I mean, so I think Teferi too, and so we'll sell the wreckage, all that stuff,
Yeah.
all the control cards.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Format's going to slow down. That's when control thrives.
Yeah.
Just like you like it.
Depends how many wizards we get, but yeah.
That's true. That's true. There'll be wizards. They're going to be Izzet and Dimir wizards probably.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. Okay. Well, let's call that a segment then. So we are going to we want to talk about a little bit more about Ravnica, but we're going to do a fun segment next. Since we don't have all of Vivian Reed's story at the time that we're recording this podcast, and of course, we don't know if we're going to be receiving the beginning of Ravnica's story next week, or if it's going to be the week after that. If Ravnica's story starts next week, we're going to cover Ravnica's story. If it doesn't, we're going to cover all 3 of Vivian Reed's stories, which we currently don't have, but by then we'll have all of them. So we're going to not do a story circle segment this week, but we are going to talk about where we feel like some of our favorite or most notable fictional characters would fit into each of the Ravnica Guilds. We'll be back in just a moment. All right, Ali, so this is something you and I like to talk about a lot. And I'm actually, when you suggested this segment, I was actually really excited about it. And you were like, well, what if, and we were talking about, like, as we led into the segment, we talked about, well, we're kind of in a weird spot because we don't know when Ravnica's story is going to start, and then we have this Vivian Reed story that we want to talk about, but we don't have all the information on it yet because it's 3 parts, we only have 2. So, like, well, what do we talk about? I was like, well, I want to talk about Ravnica, and you're like, well, what if we talk about where characters or people would fit into guilds?
Yep. So famous people or characters that fit into guilds. And
we kind of narrow it down. We realized that I think more people are going to realize, or not realize, but are going to, I think the fictional characters are going to resonate more with our listeners and more fun for us, I think. So we listed each of the 10 guilds, and Ollie and I each picked a character that we felt like was associated with each of those guilds. So we'll kind of go through, and then we'll each give our take and defend or explain why we feel like that's the case.
All right. So let's start off with Zurius.
Yeah.
Mine is the Living Tribunal.
And who's the Living Tribunal? Because I don't think this is a common character.
Yeah, I don't think it's either. Living Tribunal is a Marvel character. He basically is only second power to somebody else. But I'm sorry, I don't know the name of the other person. But basically, all he cares about is the balance of the universe / galaxy, and he's willing to do anything in order to keep the balance. Like, his powers consist of like erasing somebody with a mere thought, or creating something with a mere thought. He's basically like scales that are in hero form, or not necessarily hero form, but in superhero form. Because he's not a good guy or a bad guy, which represents the Azorius, and he's all about balance, which again represents the Azorius, and he's all about like the law of the universe, just keeping it alive and balanced. And he's my vote for the Azorius Guild.
Okay, so I went old school with mine, and this is I have to imagine that most people know who this is. Maybe some of our younger listeners don't, but I picked RoboCop. for my pick for Azorius because he is the ultimate law enforcer. Um, Essentially, and RoboCop is a surprisingly very violent movie from gosh, I was gonna say early 80s, but it might be late 70s. I'm gonna look it up real quick.
Showing your
Okay,
age.
no, it's okay, mid 80s. So, um, but RoboCop is essentially the uh, privatized police force, and is just basically he's very, I don't want to say very aggressive, but it's like basically upholds the law at any cost, and it not necessarily in a violent way, even though it is that way in the movie, but everything is he is like the physical embodiment of rules and law and enforcing that. And I think that is what the Azorius wants to do at all times.
Yeah, even on cloudy days, they'll destroy a whole city block because they gave plenty of warning to the sky. That's the flavor text for Supreme Verdict, by the way.
Perfect. Exactly.
Yeah.
And he is the Supreme Verdict. All right.
Okay.
So we're just gonna go in, and we'll go in alphabetical order. So we'll do Boros next.
right.
My pick for Boros was Rick Grimes, which is the kind of the main character of the Walking Dead comic and TV show, which I think most people obviously know more about the TV show. But Rick is Boros because he is always wanting. His goal is to do the right thing, and what he believes to be the right thing, but he is willing to do literally whatever it takes to do that. And that if that means he has to use violence or fear or anything, he will do that. Basically, he's like, do the right thing at any cost, and any cost literally means any cost. So Rick is usually pretty measured, but he can let his emotions get a hold of him, which kind of blurs his vision on what he thinks the right thing is, which is, I think, very, very Boros.
Okay, my answer is actually kind of similar. It's gonna be Luke Cage. Luke Cage also wants to do the right thing, but he can also be passionate and, get physical or whatever he needs to do in order to do what he believes is the right thing. I don't think he can go as dark as Rick Grimes can, but he's basically a more white Boros with a splash of red.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
He's more white than he is red, but he's still Boros, in my opinion.
Okay. I think that Luke Cage is Selesnya.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think so? I think he is more concerned about kind of the natural order of things and wants to make sure that that is not disrupted. Because I don't take him for red at all, but, obviously this is all open to interpretation.
I think he's, so I think he's definitely white.
I think he's primarily white. I think he's secondary in green, personally.
I think it's red, but
okay.
I could see either or, but I believe it's red.
Okay, agree to disagree. All right. Next up is Demir. You can go. All
right, Demir. I have Loki. I mean, I think he's just the image of Demir. He's very cunning, and you never know what he's up to. He has a ton of secrets. You can see that in his plotting and plans and what he does to Thor. And he does use a lot of illusion magic, which is very blue of him. Yep. And he backstabs a lot, and he's very all me.
He also,
I want power.
I want
strength. He does front stab, and he snake stabs. He does all the stabbing.
He's very stabby. He's a real stabby dude.
Yeah, and he's again. He's at the end of the day, he wants the power. He wants to be recognized. He does everything for himself, but he does it in a very cunning a mischievous way, which is very blue too. So Dimir, Loki's my Dimir vote.
Yeah, no, I mean I think that's a good one. I think Loki actually is an exceptional choice. I picked Hannibal Lecter as my Demir. He is, in my opinion, in film, the ultimate manipulator. And I think that is something that is very Demir. He wants to have all of the knowledge, and he is willing to do everything to get that knowledge. He does not care about the consequences of that, and he is only solely out for himself. Um, I think Hannibal Lecter was like the first big like fictional character that I thought of when I like think of a Dimir character. I think he's like the embodiment of it.
Okay, that makes sense.
He's also like an expert planner, which is very Dimir as well.
He is. Him and Bolus.
Yeah.
Uh,
next one is the Golgari, and this one also came to me pretty quickly when we were doing this exercise. I think the xenomorphs from Aliens are all Golgari. In just purely in practice, they literally their goal instinctually is to take life from death.
Okay.
They are born by killing other beings, and they instinctually believe, and it's not really even a belief, but it's just what is internally in them that 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 from death must come life, which is what they are. And it is the I think one of the most pure representations of the life and death cycle. And it's something that they don't, like I said, I think the important thing is that it's not something that is conceptualized, but it's something that is just purely instinctual, that is ingrained in what they are as beings.
Sure. This one's kind of hard for me. I went with just poison ivy. She obviously her powers involve plants and poison and nature, and she is a villain. I feel like this is like maybe like cookie cutter vote.
Yeah,
but this is
you're going more off of abilities, I think, than
personality.
Anything. Yeah, but I mean that also counts. I mean that doesn't not count in Magic.
But thank you, because I actually struggled with this one, so. And this is the only one I can come up with, but
yeah.
I think she kind of fits the mold, but she's definitely like a cookie cutter hero or villain.
Yeah.
Compared to like someone like Xenomorph, which I didn't. Honestly, to be fair, I didn't even know they existed. So
you knew they exist. You know what that is.
I just didn't know the name of them, I guess.
Okay. But yeah, the aliens from Aliens.
Yeah. All right. So next, I'm gonna go with Gruul.
Okay.
Their quote is "Not Gruul, then die." I'm gonna go with the young Hulk. Young Hulk.
So this is, I think, if anything, is the lowest hanging fruit, because this might be the most representative of any clan of anything that we have. One of a couple, I guess, but this is a
sure.
pretty easy
one. I think it's perfect. I think you can easily alter
it is.
Berberingmos to be the Hulk. They both do the same thing. They're both instinctual and go from emotions. Like literally, the Hulk comes from emotions. They're both very strong, very nature based. He's green, and they're driven by like emotions. And the Hulk will attack good guys, bad guys, whatever. Like it's very red green to me. So
okay. I haven't. This is I think my favorite one on this list. And my pick for Gruul is Han Solo. And I think this is like when people are hearing this, people are like, Han Solo's not Gruul. And I actually really think that he is, because Han is largely driven by impulse outwardly. He's very brash and very quick to react, but internally he is all instinct, and he wants to have independence from any constructs around him. This is where he was raised. Even in his adult life, he doesn't want to be controlled by anything. He wants kind of the natural ability for things to just happen as they do. He doesn't want to have a plan. He believes that whatever happens happens, and he's going to react to any of those things in the moment. And that's very the you know going by his instincts and wanting to just let life happen and not be constrained by anything or ruled by anything is very green. And obviously his passion overwhelmingly, which rules his life, as well as his impulsive reactions, is very red. So I think he is a very Gruul character, even if what we know, because obviously you said like the Hulk and then Borg Brigmos, those are like really, I think those are easy ones, but I think Han is an extremely Gruul character, but maybe a more introspective one than the rest.
Okay. Okay.
All right. Next is It? And so I know what yours is, but I'll go with mine. We ended up picking very similar ones. And that's because I think these are very similar characters. For Is It, I picked Mr. Fantastic of the Fantastic Four. He is someone who is wants to tinker and understand things and desires knowledge and does not care the cost of that. He kind of he doesn't, not that he doesn't care about the cost, but that's not something that ever crosses his mind. He just wants to build and create, and whatever kind of happens, whether it's in or out of his control, is something secondary to asking the question of how can I do this thing. Mr. Fantastic is actually just he's actually a really interesting character, because he's obviously like the leader, air quotes around that, of the Fantastic Four, but he's also kind of a gigantic jerk because the rest of his family and his team realize this about him, that he cares more about knowledge, understanding, and doing the next thing more than anything else. And I think that's a very Is It thing, that you can't even see what else is happening because you're so focused on answering the question, what if this happens? Yeah.
Mine is a similar character. Tony Stark / Iron Man.
Yeah.
Obviously a tinkerer, and he also can get the red side comes out in emotions, or basically, like, this is how Civil War started. Like, he got passionate about something.
He's a very quick reactor.
Yes. And again, he very much like Mr. Fantastic, also a leader, and not that leader has to do anything to do with Is It, I guess, but just the fact that he tinkers, he builds things, and he's emotion based as well.
I think they're both leaders, not based on their ability to lead, but because others are drawn to their strong ideals. Yeah.
I mean, I think just being an inventor that pushes the envelope, like just keeps pushing and pushing and pushing, and wondering what's next, and like trying to think ahead, and like makes you a leader, like naturally if you push, like, or think hard enough or push far enough, I guess. Kind of like the Mizzet.
Yeah.
And is it like he's obviously a Draco genius. He's very smart. He pushes the envelope. I'm sure he knows more than he lets on. He knows about planeswalkers. Like, it's very, very, very much like that. Just like having that ability to like know a lot of things, because you create a lot of things and you've tinkered a lot.
People just follow you just naturally, I think.
Exactly. Yeah. So,
a fun fact. I know a lot of people have obviously watched the MCU movies and Civil War in particular. For those of you that are familiar with the comics, the Civil War arc in Marvel Comics from about 12 years ago, I think it started in 2006. It is, it's the movie largely takes from that, where Captain America's kind of leader one side and then Iron Man's leader the other side. But in the comics, there's obviously a lot more to it. And the first person to join Tony Stark is Mr. Fantastic on his side.
Nice.
Yeah. So they are, and that's actually one of the best kind of portions of that series is that the Civil War splits the Fantastic Four in half between choosing between Steve Rogers and Tony Stark. So it's a great run if you not to dive too far into comics, but that is like one of my favorite comic book arcs, and it's excellent. If you like the movie, you will love that. It's phenomenal. Anyway,
All
all
right.
right,
Next one, I'm gonna go start this one.
okay,
It's Orzhov. Orzhov, I went. Also, this is another one I kind of struggled with, so I decided to go with the kind of opposite thing. Like when you see Orzhov, you see black and white. You think maybe like moon, sun, day and night. You kind of think like like basically the opposite. So I just tanked for a long time. And eventually, just came up with Harvey Dent. Harvey Dent's otherwise known as Two-Face in the Batman series. He's literally two-faced. One side is dark, or burned, I guess. The other side is the Harvey Dent. Like one's Two-Faced, the other side is Harvey Dent. Harvey is like the good guy that wants to do well, that wants to do best with people. Where Two-Face is the darker side. He always flips a coin, heads or tails. Again, kind of like dark, like night and day with the Orzhov. So basically, just picked a character that was very much split, like split and opposite, like the Orzhov. What it symbolizes, kind of, as far as image goes.
okay, yeah. I don't know. That seems.
I was going.
Go ahead.
I was going more image based than necessarily like emotions and everything.
Yeah, yeah. It seems
very physical type deal.
Okay, sure. I think that's fair. Because I always like to go with how do these two colors in a Vorthos perspective combine to mesh into one character rather than the separate duality and just having them side by side. I kind of look for them to be intertwined. But
oh sure, I usually do too. But I'm telling you, this one for me was hard to find somebody. So
okay,
I give a heads up.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, so for mine for Orzhov, I picked Cersei Lannister, and I think this is actually one of the best Orzhov represented characters in like pop culture right now. Cersei is one of the most selfish characters in almost any TV or movie media that you can watch, but she does so by creating a system of rules and laws that benefit her. Obviously, this is she does care a lot about order and that is kind of the white part. But she only does so because she believes that she's the one that stands to benefit the most from it, which is obviously extremely black. And she interweaves these two things so seamlessly, it's almost difficult to tell where the black starts and the white begins, or vice versa.
Yeah, I guess you can see where the bad is and where the good starts. She's very, I don't know, like selfish.
Yeah, she is. I mean, that's where obviously but I'm saying in her ideals and the agendas that she's pushing, it's difficult to identify what is her desire for order, because she has a strong desire for hierarchy and rules and laws, and then where she is making decisions based purely off selfishness.
Okay.
Because I don't think sometimes she even knows the difference, because those are two things that are the two most important things to her, are herself, and then making sure that everything is as she wants it in order. The next one is Rakdos, and for me this is a fun one. I picked Tyler Durden from Fight Club, and I'm specifically talking about, I guess, for people that obviously the movie is the more popular thing, but the character that is played specifically, spoiler alert for Fight Club, I guess. But if you haven't, I mean, this movie's 20 years old, so the person that is characterized by Brad Pitt, um, before Ed Norton's character realizes he's the same character, um, but he is completely self-destructive and does not is not concerned about what comes next in any decision making, and he is essentially just living. Thinks that he is uh, at some points believes that he might be doing things for a purpose, but is ultimately living in the moment to try to fulfill whatever need he feels like he has without even understanding that that's why he's doing it, which I think is a very Rakdos thing to do.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the Joker. The Joker is from Batman series. He's literally insane. He's extremely selfish, but he still likes to entertain himself and by killing and doing things in the most crazy Jokerish type way. He will do. He's obviously like an agent of chaos,
For sure.
and he enjoys. He does this because he enjoys doing it, like which I think is a huge Rakdos thing. Like,
Yeah.
sure, like you enjoy killing, you're selfish, and but you also have to have fun while doing all this. And the Joker, this is literally him. This is like what he likes, which just screams Rakdos to me.
Yeah. No, I completely agree.
Okay. Next up is Selesnya. I'm gonna go with Groot because Groot, Groot, Groot.
I think he's going to say I am Groot, not just Groot over and over again.
Dang it! He's not a
You
Pokemon.
literally
Right.
messed
I am
it again.
Groot.
You messed
I
it
didn't
up.
mess it up.
Oh
No!
my god.
I didn't mess it up. That would have been so good too.
That
That
was
would have
really,
been
that
so
was
good.
really embarrassing. I'm embarrassed for you.
You're right. I didn't mess it up. Okay. Anyways, so Groot. He's obviously, very. He's a plant, but he's also about something about like family and, but anyone can be your family, and Groot also sees Rocket as like his father. Like, obviously Rocket isn't his father, but he sees like the whole gang as the family. So he basically has made his own family, and that's what Slezin is also about that too. Like family isn't necessarily your blood, but it's who you bond with and build things with and adventure with. It's and that's and also I think that's very Groot esque. So
Okay. Yeah, I think that one's also on the nose a little too much because he's literally a plant,
okay,
but it's fine. We'll roll with it.
but hey, the family thing that's true too. Come on now.
Yeah, it's a family thing.
Oh my god.
My pick for Selesnya is Steve Rogers, aka Captain America. Steve is uh, of just about any character, any about fictional character, is one of the most morally north pointing characters. He cares he cares more about others than himself. He's always willing to put everyone first, but the purpose of all of his actions are for harmony and cooperation among anyone is that he believes is interested in fighting for his cause, and even fighting for those that he believes are not interested in fighting for his cause because he wants to be the person that brings everyone together. Um, he does believe in a natural order of things, um, not that um, not that organization disrupts that, but actually adds to the natural order of things rather than fighting against it, which I think is kind of where the green and the white cross over. Um, he obviously is very concerned about about the like I said about the group more than the individual, and I think that is very Selesnya at its core.
Yeah.
All right,
I
go ahead.
Honestly, I do agree that Selesnya does care about that.
Yep.
More about the group and the individual.
So last one is Simic. And the one I picked for this one is John Hammond, which is the person who founded Jurassic Park.
Okay.
So John Hammond is literally would be like a Simic guild mage in building something
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
without questioning why or what could happen if this happens, but what can I do? What can I create? What life can I create from science?
Or bring back, I guess,
In this case,
yeah.
but yeah, it's still creating life. The use of
This is like
the use of life, the combination of life and technology, real physical tangible things, with using everything that you've learned and things that you're creating to your advantage and combining those into what you believe is harmony without saying what could go wrong, but what could go right is the question they always ask.
I mean, this is literally every horror movie you've seen where someone's like, okay, I'm gonna combine a dinosaur with a shark. I'm gonna combine this animal with this animal because
Yeah.
I can, and I just want to do it.
Yeah, what could this? I want to know what this could possibly do, rather than what could happen poorly if I made this choice.
You know, like the human centipede.
Sure.
But basically just creating because you can.
Yeah.
And not necessarily thinking the consequences.
Yes, exactly.
I'm gonna go with a little more physical attributes for Simic.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Beast. Beast is very intellectual. He's a scientist. He likes to study. You always see him during X-Men, like, in the lab mixing potions and stuff. And obviously, one of his passions was to try to get rid of his beast side, where he was trying to be human in one of the arcs. So this is the blue side. And then obviously he knows also when to become very beastie. Ding. So where he becomes very nature based and a little more savage, and not necessarily all about science and intellect. So my again, I'm gonna go with the very physical attributes of Simic and talk about Beast, or say mine's Beast for Simic.
Okay. So you went more on the physical side for a lot of these characters, and I think I picked more of the
hidden side, or
what I believe the characters' goals are, or how their kind of outlook on life.
Sure.
But in Magic, both can be right. Liliana's feelings towards everything are not always solely black, but she is a necromancer, and her abilities correlate with black. Therefore, she is black, and she'll probably always be mono black. So that is also important. It's not just ideals, because I don't think most characters, even if they're written narrowly, or ultimately in actuality would be that narrow just to fit into one or two colors. So yeah, so I think those are both fair takes, both sides.
Yeah, I like this. Fun activity.
Yeah. So you guys should definitely let us know what you think. If you feel like, if you have a character that you feel like is aligned with a specific guild, or strongly agree or disagree with one that either Ali or myself have said, let us know on Twitter at jparnell1, at Ali Aintrazi on Twitter. But yeah, I like doing these exercises. I like mixing the pop culture and the Magic whenever we can. That's always one of my favorite ones to do.
For sure.
All right, cool. All right, so we're going to take a quick break, and when we return, we're going to watch the mystery thriller. Is that what we?
Sure.
Yeah, the new in theaters mystery thriller Searching. Be back in just a moment. All right, so we're gonna.
So Michael Jackson be Golgari? He come back to life?
Oh, he did not come back to life, though.
Are you sure?
Michael Jackson would be Orzhov, if you were going by your metrics.
Oh my god. Okay. All right. That's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. Thank you. Right. So we're gonna do non-spoilers first.
Yeah.
So no spoilers. All right. Why
When
don't
I
you?
first watched this trailer,
Yeah,
just gonna jump right in.
yeah. No, go
When
ahead.
I
Go
first
ahead.
when I first watched this trailer, I thought it was like a horror scary movie because of how it was portrayed. I was like, "Hey, Parnell, let's watch this. This looks interesting." I sent it to you. You said, "Yeah, sure." And then, like, when I actually went to go see the movie, I was surprised, not pleasantly or unpleasantly, but it wasn't at all scary. Like, there's no horror. There's no horror in this movie at all.
I would say there is no horror. I wouldn't say it's not scary.
Okay, sure, sure, yes. I can see how it's scary, but
It,
it's not like a
it's not
jump
a
scare
it's
or
not a terror
a
based
slasher
movie.
or
Yeah,
anything. Yeah,
yeah, maybe emotional horror, but not.
yeah, that's different. Yeah, not. It's not like your traditional horror movie or slasher film or anything like that. So,
No, not at all. So how would you categorize this movie then?
mystery,
Okay,
just mystery,
okay,
mystery drama maybe.
just mystery. So not mystery thriller as I described it.
Maybe thriller. Mystery drama, mystery thriller, but definitely like, hands down like just mystery with a sub of something else.
Okay, okay. So I guess without giving away anything, um, well, obviously without giving you give away. I would say some of the plot, but not the you know the important parts.
Yeah,
How would you, for people that haven't watched the trailer?
this is like what what it's about without saying what it's about.
Well, no, you can say the plot.
Okay, I don't want to mess this up, so I'm gonna let you say the
Would you
plot.
like? Okay. So, there is a father and daughter, and at some point during the beginning of the movie, the daughter goes missing, and the father has to, through the aid of police, try to identify what happened to his daughter. And this movie heavily leans on both visually and um, from a plot perspective, leans heavily on social media and is a commentary on kind of our use of social media in this day and age,
Yeah,
and how people are both more connected and maybe less connected because of that. Um, this movie is shot in a very interesting way that I think played to its strengths, because obviously the plot of the movie is very social media focused, um, but oftentimes throughout the movie you're seeing the action and almost the entire movie through what you'd be seeing on a computer screen or some sort of digital media, whether this is someone operating Facebook or Instagram or FaceTime, or like a live streaming service, or even just on like television, and you're seeing the entire movie through the lens of social media.
yeah,
And it's, when you stop and think about it, it's really, um, I don't know. I think for just about anyone, if you're listening to this podcast, I mean, our podcast is based through social media too. I mean, like, most of the people that have listened to this have found us through other content that we've created for Magic, or follow us on Twitter, or something that has to do with social media, right? So everyone is. This is something that I think everyone can understand on a deeply personal level. Um, and this movie is very good at affecting you emotionally if you're able to make that connection, which I think just about everybody can.
yeah. I agree with that. This is the second best movie of the year for me, honestly. First being Annihilation.
Okay.
I think it's just, and I was pleasantly second,
Pleasantly
like,
surprised.
yeah, because I was not expecting this movie to be that high for me or like that good, I guess, or me enjoy it that much.
Yeah,
Especially for a mystery. Like I'm not usually high on mysteries.
sure.
But this one was really good, and I highly recommend it. Definitely my favorite mystery movie to date. It just stands out like ahead of the rest of them.
Yeah,
Had me guessing the whole time, and then second guessing myself, and then me being wrong multiple times.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Great movie, fantastic. Definitely check it out if you like mystery, or if you just want to see a great movie.
Yeah.
So
Are you giving this 5 stars?
yeah, I'm gonna give me this 5 stars.
Okay. All right, cool. That's high praise. I think if you are interested in watching this movie, if you're a human being with feelings, I think you would enjoy this movie. Well, okay. So this is Ali and I were talking before we started recording, and I was like, let's say it for the podcast. He was like, did you enjoy the movie? And I was like, did I enjoy it? Maybe not. Enjoy is the word. It's an excellent movie though, but it's very difficult at parts. I went to go see it with my partner Meredith, and the young girl in the movie that ends up disappearing is 16. Meredith has an 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, so not too far away from the ages, and it really, what this movie to me is really about is the lengths that parents will go for their kids.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For sure. And I think if you are a parent of a child of virtually any age, I think you see this movie through a different lens than maybe someone that does not have that. And that doesn't mean you're going to get more or less out of it, but it's different. The movie feels different, and it is harrowing at times as you are witnessing what this father is going through. And it emotionally beats you down. I mean, like, I literally, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, I like cried. Not bawled, but I was like, tears were coming out of my eyes just for the very beginning of the movie.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it's a good one. So what do you give it, Parnell?
I'm going to give it, so this I think is, if I had to rank this, I think this is like the third best movie for me this year.
Okay.
I'm going to give it 4 stars, just because I think the other 2 that I have ahead of it are movies that I just enjoy more and would like to watch again. And I don't think I ever want to see this movie again. But that's not because it wasn't great. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah, just the way it made you feel.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a rough watch, but
I think it's really good.
It is. It's exceptional. It's an exceptional movie.
Yeah.
I mean, like 4 is not. I'm giving it 4 stars. I'm not giving it 5. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think it's very good. And I think if I had to rank this with the other 4-star movies, which I actually haven't given too many other movies 4 stars this year, I think I'd put this at the top of the 4-star rankings. So yeah, I'm gonna give this 4. I think it's very good. I liked Annihilation and A Quiet Place more than this, but I think it's right after those 2. It's like, this is like in the tier with Infinity War and Black Panther for me. But okay. I think it's ahead of both of those. I think this is just a better movie overall.
Yeah, I think so too. Just the fact for me, it's like the best mystery movie I've ever seen. Just makes me feel like I have to give it 5 stars.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, so. I don't think that's an unreasonable take. There's just a couple of things that had it, that are keeping it from 5 stars for me. I think it's incredibly innovative. I think ultimately the plot was a little cookie cutter, but not. It's but that doesn't mean the things that happened in the movie were. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
Sure.
I
think that's part of the beauty for me, though. Like,
no, it is, and that's what I'm saying. But yeah. Like the way this movie was shot, it had to be done that way because everything is such from a different angle because of how you're watching you're seeing the movie from what lens you're seeing the movie from. That doesn't take away from the movie, but it's not like, I don't think this is like the greatest movie I've ever seen. I think it's just a very, very good movie and will be one of the best movies of this year. Which, I mean, see a lot of movies, so not everything can be my favorite thing ever. But I think this is a
Sure.
very, very good one.
All right.
Like I
Ready to
said,
get
if you have
spoilers?
feelings, you should watch this movie. Okay, yeah, we can go into spoilers. So,
All right.
spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Spoiler warning. Okay, now we're in spoilers. Go ahead.
Okay, we're in spoilers. This movie had me guessing. Anytime I thought like something was going to happen,
Yep.
it switched on me, which I thought was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know how much I value me guessing the movie.
Yeah, a lot.
Yeah,
It's like the biggest. I think it's like the biggest thing for you for like any
It's pretty big.
movie.
I don't know how big it is, but I think it's pretty big. But it was so. I kept failing, I guess.
Yeah.
And that was
In
great.
a good way,
So,
though. In a good way.
Yeah, and I love that. So that was huge for me, and without like jumping all around, I don't know. This movie was just it's hard to like. I love the ending too. I love the ending. I was gonna be like at the end. I was like last like 10 minutes.
So
to be fair,
so the fact that did it change the movie for you that the fact that she was alive at the end? Like
did change.
Like did that change how you felt about the movie overall?
Yes.
Really? Okay. Why is that?
Absolutely. I just love happy endings, man. Or happy endings versus like sad endings. Like, I would have given this movie, honestly, probably 4 stars if she hadn't lived.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I understand. Like, it's still a great movie, but I am a big like hope person and optimistic, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I know that's something that means a lot to you.
Yeah, and that ending was just fucking phenomenal. Like, I loved it. I was like, please, please, please. The whole time I was like, please.
Yeah, because you're like rooting for the dad the whole time.
Yeah, yes. And then he's always like on point. He's always like, you're always following him. And like, if I felt a struggle. Like, I was feeling a struggle. I was like, oh my god, poor guy. Like, he's having to like do all by himself, and he's struggling. Like, he's kind of depressed because his wife died, and he doesn't know how to support his daughter. He's messing up because of this. And at the end, you can tell he's like, he's really, really trying, and it's just like, he's a good dad. He's a good dad.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
he meant well, and it was
he and Margot are, 2 years since his wife, essentially 2 years since his wife and her mom has passed away. That, I think this was a realistic look at how that happens. Like, they're still connected and love each other, but like there's been this separation because there's this gigantic gap that has been created in their family. To me, even like at the end, it didn't even matter whether she was alive or not. And I don't mean it didn't matter, but like the damage had been done to me emotionally throughout the movie that it's just like, I felt like this movie could end at any point and I would not have been surprised. Well, I mean, I would have been surprised. God. But like, I was like, this could be the last scene of the movie or about the last scene. And that felt right for the movie. It's like, wow, this is just brutal.
And they're all depressing. Except
the actual ending.
Yes. And it was like, I think that happened like 2 or 3 times for me. I was like, dang.
It could have been at any point. Like, and that I did think that was great. Like, it's like, I didn't know when this movie was going to end. Like, it didn't seem like there was like a natural climax because everything, it seemed pretty, I mean, the progression of everything was natural, and you don't know if it's going to have a happy ending or not until the moment that it happens. Like, there's nothing that leads you to believe that will be the case.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the foreshadowing. Like, there's a lot of foreshadowing in the movie too.
Yeah.
So
there's a billion clues over the course of the movie, and they're difficult. They leave them for you. There's not like, I don't like when movies are like this that ask you to figure. They're like, okay, you can figure this out. The viewer can figure this out if you put together all of the clues. And for the most part, they're all there for you, but you really have to be paying attention.
Yeah.
And there's not like, oh, well, you couldn't have figured this out because there's this clue that we just didn't tell you because it would be
Yeah,
too easy.
it's a really good escape room.
It's a really good escape room, yeah. They don't have anything where
Yeah.
you have to yank the door, right, yank the drawer out and look on the bottom of it. Like all the clues lead to the other clues, and if you combine them all, you can, for the most part, figure it out. And the things that you can't do on your own as a viewer, the dad is doing for you and getting that information for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Man, yeah, no, it's a great movie.
And the fact that the detective, like, you saw her Facebook, I guess was what it was, and in the background said, like, basically said, you know, do anything for your kids. Kids are the number one, whatever.
Yeah.
And it's crazy, like, because it sounds like a double-sided coin. Like, okay,
it is.
She's doing everything she can to help. She's doing the same thing,
and that's the thing. Like, I feel like there's not a villain in this movie because
first it's like she's doing everything she can to help, you know, Asian dad out.
John Cho's character.
Yeah. And she's like she's great. She's, you know, all about kids and parenting their kids, and she's like doing everything she can. And you can see, like, when he calls her, like, she looks tired, like she's exhausted.
They did such a good job of making them over the course of the movie look even like more and more tired, because the movie takes place over the course of 5 days.
Yeah.
So, and she just looks more and more exhausted because she, at every indication, is a good person that has been put in an impossible situation, and she chose what I believe is what most parents would choose, and that is, I need to protect my son or my family at all costs. And
she went too far. She went too far, though.
But, you know, the thing is, I think that John Cho's character would have done the same in her shoes if they were switched. She knew that she went too far, but she was doing it to protect her son. You have to imagine, this is a person that...
Well, she killed somebody else. She killed like two people, basically. Two.
Yeah, essentially did. I understand that, man, but, like, this isn't a bad person. Like, we are shown all of the exceptional good that she has done, and she's put in a situation where, dude, as a police officer, as a detective, what do you think she's supposed to do? Be like, your son calls you and tells you this, and your gut reaction is to be like, all right, well, I'm going to turn you in. You're going to go to jail.
No,
I'm not going to see you again.
Not.
I know, but man, where do you draw that line? Like, that's impossible. That's an impossible choice to make. And I don't think anyone can just say, like, nope, my son did a terrible thing, and I'm just like, I can't. I'm going to do a little bit for him, but then he's just on his own.
But she went way too, like, you know, you do something. But, like,
where does it stop?
I don't think you cover up. I don't think you go as far as to hide the car and set up a whole story, and I don't know. Like,
so what happens? So what do you think she should have done?
Consoled him and tell him that his best bet is to turn himself in.
I think that's crap. I think it's bad take.
I mean, dude, I think, like, I think you talked. You can't. It's hard.
Dude,
like,
I know, like, you as a viewer, and you're looking at, from a moral perspective, a family that was wronged and a family that did the wronging, but
you're killing. But
I understand that. I'm not pushing her off the ledge and then covering it up. I'm just saying, you have to understand, this isn't a person. This isn't a bad person just because this person did a bad thing. Deborah Messing's character was put in an impossible situation and went and began. She didn't have this full plan when she told her son on the phone, don't talk to anyone else. I'm going to figure it out. And it was just instincts from there. And it's just like, I need to do whatever I need to do.
Okay. Like, I can understand. Okay, I can, from her point of view, I can understand. Okay, well, the girl's dead because he pushed her off. We got to hide the evidence. We got to change the story. blah blah blah. I can follow along and understand that. But as soon as you just kill, like, I understand the guy's a convict, but you make him make a false confession and then you kill him. That's you now. You're what are you doing? Like, what are you doing?
I'm not saying that I would do it.
No. I'm asking her character. What are you doing? Not you.
And she's protecting her son is the answer.
Right, and that's too far. That's to me is too far.
That's literally when she said
killing somebody else.
When she was like, when she told the story about her son going house to house and made up the fake charity and saying, "This is the moms and dads in blue charity." And then when the neighbor came over and said, your son stole $25 from me, she was like, and then she tried to end the conversation, and then John Cho's character was like, well, what did you do? And she's like, what do you mean? She was like, well, what did you do? What had happened? What happened in that situation? And she was like, I told the woman that I founded it and thanked her for her contribution. Because she doesn't need her son to be embarrassed or put through an ordeal to help him learn a lesson. And that's, I think, what most parents would do. But for someone that has the resources.
That's too far, man. That's too much. That's too much mama bear.
That's too
sheltering. That's too sheltering. That's you're destroying. Like, at that point, you're first of all, for the fundraiser thing, yes, my son would get in trouble. Like, no, you lied, and
you're saying that he did not get in trouble?
No, he would get in trouble.
And you're saying that I'm saying, Robert, in this movie, you're saying that you don't believe that he did?
Well, I also wouldn't lie to protect him.
I don't think it's that easy. I think you're making this too black and white, and I just don't think that it is. I don't think so, man.
I think it is that easy. Like, I don't know, maybe because of scenarios I've dealt with recently, but like, I'm not covering. I don't know, man. I don't want to.
Well, okay.
My son is different, I think, because, like, I don't want to make it easy for him. Like, make him think life is easy. Then when he's on his own, he can't float. Like, I feel like her son, like, if she goes to jail and he somehow gets out, like, he's not gonna do anything himself at all. He's just gonna fail in life. Like, I don't know. It's hard, man.
I know it is. That's the point that I'm making. That it's hard. Like, but you think someone can just make that snap judgment in the moment, and then this is just, yep. Nope, sorry. You've made a mistake, and you're gonna have to deal with it.
It depends which one it is. If it's like the going door to door, yes, you're gonna get deal the consequences for that. Like, as far as like what actually happened, dude, I don't know. That's the hardest situation to be put in.
That's my point. That it is.
I don't know what to do, but I just know for a fact that I would not kill another human being to
protect Aiden.
An innocent one, yes. For no reason. Like no reason.
Okay. I think that's I'm not saying you know that. I'm just saying it's impossible to know that.
Sure.
I don't think any parent can know that until you're put in that situation. I think that is impossible to know. I think this is person who is, by all accounts, Deborah Messing's character was a stand-up citizen, above and beyond what the vast majority of other human beings. And she's put in an impossible situation, and this was her decision, but it was not premeditated. Now, obviously, at some parts it was, but not initially, because her initial response was protect my son at all costs. I don't know what that's going to mean, but I know that's what I need to do.
Yeah, literal costs.
Yeah.
All right. Enough emotions.
Yeah. Obviously, if you're in spoilers, this is a great movie. If you haven't watched it and you just decided to listen to this part, it's really, really good. I highly recommend people watching it. It doesn't have that many actors in it. I think the two main actors, John Cho and Deborah Messing, are outstanding in this movie. Like, otherworldly outstanding. The director is outstanding. How this movie is shot is amazing.
Yeah, I'm saying Director Che is in this movie. He's the director, John Che.
He's what?
He's in the movie.
He's in the movie?
Director Jonathan Choi. Never mind, man. It was a joke that.
I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
Because the character's name is what?
The character's name is David Kim.
Okay, never mind.
The actor's name is John Cho.
Right. So our director.
Okay. Yeah, I get it, but I think you're making a
stretch.
A poor joke that has to do on the fact that they're both Asian and they both have some of the same letters in their
name. Anyways,
that's what
whatever.
I said.
I'm getting off of this.
They have some of the same letters in their name. It's pronounced different. That's John Cho, the actor, and then our director is John Che.
All right, let's move on with our lives.
Okay. All right. So in that case, we're gonna take a short break, and when we come back, we're gonna wrap up and have our question of the week. All right, Ollie, you know what it's time for.
Milk and cereal.
Is it breakfast time?
I actually like milk and cereal at nighttime more than breakfast time. Is that weird?
No. No.
Okay.
I think I want to eat more food at night than I do in the morning. So it makes sense.
Absolutely.
Makes sense to me. All right. I was really referring to it's time for terrible music. Which I think there was probably a pause right there, and then
I think it's always great. So thumbs up.
So bad.
Last week was great.
Time. No. All right. So we have a question of the week this week, as always, and this is one that kind of refers back to our guild segment. Every time a Ravnica set comes out, Wizards of the Coast always puts up a new kind of choose, I guess, what guild are you test. So both of us took the guild test and have taken a bunch of other ones. Every single time I've ever taken one of these tests, one like batting 1,000, I've now taken it 8 times. Took it again right before the podcast just to see if it worked out again, and it did. And I have 8 out of 8 times have been Azorius in taking the guild test. Which
so you're basically Azor.
Basically, I'm pretty much am Azor, exactly.
Yeah.
Just straight up. What have you gotten when you've taken it?
I've gotten Simic and Selesnya.
Okay, so you're Bant.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, so not a singular thing, but
Simic actually, like, the Simic actually resonates with my personality too. It's not like
that's how you feel. Like, if you choose, like, that's how you want to feel is Simic.
Well, also the description of Simic when I got Simic, the explanation of Simic, like, is how I feel. If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that does absolutely make sense. I mean, mine.
Like,
yeah, go ahead. You go.
Like, for example, the Cynic one description was, you're flexible and clever and are fascinated by the world around you. Innovation is central to the Cynic Combine's worldview, and like them, you love being on top of new discoveries and ideas. I mean, I do because, like, I love not only brewing and magic, but also in real life too. Just like new technology or new inventions or new gadgets, like a room, like I love that kind of stuff. And it says you believe that while the way things are is largely fine, there's always chance for improvement. Yeah. Which I also believe myself, like in the self growth, self improvement. No one's ever perfect, And you shouldn't necessarily strive for perfection, but you should strive for improvement and being better. And then it says the big questions in life are the ones that fascinate you the most, and you cherish being able to engage in spirited debates about them with others.
Okay.
I like debating, necessarily about like the big questions, like as far as like Big Bang or anything like that. But I do like debating.
Okay.
But yeah, so like it was. I think this personality or whatever also resonates with me in real life as well. Not only the gameplay too.
Okay. So yeah, mine. Obviously, I got like I said, Azorius. And so it says you're in the Azorius Senate. It says you are punctual, organized, and most importantly of all, correct. Um, the Azorius operate with stoic pride and use an innate understanding of the rules to achieve effective results. So, probably from listening to this podcast and me interacting with me in real life, I am like 100% Azorius. Like everything that I understand about how that guild operates and every test that I've taken is, like I said, has returned this result. I love rules, which is a really weird thing to love. And whenever I say that, I always get like weird looks from people. Even when I was writing for Star City, doing cube articles, I actually wrote an article on why I love rules so much because I really love rules. They're really great. They're literally like the best thing in the entire world.
That's literally like that's it. Like just saying I love rules is enough to put a zero stamp on you.
I do love rules. So the question of the week is: does your guild test results align with your Magic playstyle? Ollie, it seems like yours does.
Yes, mine is definitely yes. I do love the Simic playstyle, and the Simic traits or personality that also matches me as well.
Yeah,
or lines with my playstyle
for sure. Mine is arguably, I don't know if it's the most opposite, but it is the opposite. Like my playstyle, if I had to narrow it down to like a singular two color combination, is Golgari. And Golgari is the guild that uses all of their resources as many times as possible, using your hand, library, graveyard, creatures in play, using them when they're in play, using them when they're in the graveyard. That is the thing that I enjoy doing the most in Magic, is just getting squeezing as much efficiency out of every individual card that I have. That's why
not necessarily drawing cards with card advantage. Like your card advantage is just milking everything it's worth.
Exactly. Yeah, it doesn't have to be drawing cards, and frequently it's not. Like oftentimes, like I love graveyard decks, and like utilizing the graveyard. And that is like the opposite of Azorius. In fact, white is like my least favorite color in Magic by a lot. Blue is like tied with green for my second favorite color after black. But I really don't like white. Like I dislike playing white often. Like I don't think I've ever willingly played a mono white deck in my life.
Do you just like white or red more?
White for sure.
Okay, yeah. That's like red more.
Yeah, I just like white more, like 100% sure. Like that is just my least favorite color. So mine is definitely the like complete opposite is Azorius from Golgari. So mine does not align and yours does. So we want to hear from you guys. Does your guild test results align with your Magic playstyle? And if you haven't taken the test, we will link it. We'll link it on the question of the week when we get there. And of course, you can find that on at Thinktwice MTG on Twitter, and of course at each of our pages. Ollie, where can people find you?
Come at twitter.com/Ali Aintrazi, twitch.tv/Ali Aintrazi. And articles come out every Friday over at coolstuffinc.com. I think is what it is, right?
It is.
And check.
It's right on there. I wrote it down.
Oh, you did. You're right. Yep. Coolstuffinc.com. That's and on this podcast.
Excellent. Oh, thank goodness you told people about the podcast. That's always great.
Yep, I got them.
You can find me on Twitter at jparnell1 on Twitter, and of course on StarCityGames.com and YouTube every Wednesday morning, 11 a.m. The host of the Commander Versus series. We're reaching the end of season 12, so yeah, you probably already know what's going on there. I played a deck that I was quite fond of this past week. I will not tell you what happened. I'll just say that I'm fond of the deck, and I worked on it with one of our Agent of Bolas producers. So if you want to contact the show, you can do so on Twitter at ThinktwiceMTG on Twitter, and of course you can send us a message personally, thinktwicemtg@gmail.com. If you want to find the show on another platform other than the one you're listening to now, SoundCloud, iTunes, Stitcher, and Google Play Music, please leave a review and or a little star rating for those that apply. Of course, you can also find us on youtube.com/thinktwicemtg. We have both the podcast as well as a lot of content from both Ollie and myself. We're loading Ollie's streaming up to our Think Twice channel, and I am doing a weekly video series that's coming out every Thursday for Magic Arena, kind of just playing the format of the moment, whatever it may be. If you want to support the show, you can go to patreon.com/thinktwicemtg. We have a lot of great reward tiers, including our $1 Augur of Bolas tier, which gets you early access to the show, gets you a set of Ollie and Justin tokens, as well as access to our very special Discord channel where we talk about Magic and other stuff going on and adorable animals. Speaking of which, we do have a Discord animal of the week, and that animal is Lexi the Pomeranian. Because, look, I like a lot of animals, but I like dogs the best. It's nothing against the other animals. I'm serious. It's nothing against the other animals, but I just like dogs more than the other animals. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that.
You do too. You do too.
I'm the same boat. Yeah, I'm the same boat.
And that's okay. And I love a lot of other animals. I've called out a lot of other animals for Discord Animal of the Week, but I just particularly love dogs. We also have a new what is it? Disciple of Bolas patron supporter this week, Chad S. Chad, thank you very much for your support. And we also want to thank our graphic designer, Amber West. You can find her work at amberwestdesign.com. And of course, our director and producer, John Choi. He put in that awful, terrible question of the week music moments ago. It was not good. I don't know what it was, but I bet it wasn't good. We also want to thank our Agent of Bolas producers, Daniel Hunt, Matt Lindell, and Liam Whelan. Thank you guys very much for your support. We could quite literally not do the show without you.
Thank you guys. You are the true MVP.
There it is. And only I couldn't do the show, of course, without Maggie, who gave you the strength to carry on for this long episode that I'm sure we'll hear about it from our director.
I know, it's super long. Like Maggie, quite like Maggie.
Maggie is very long. She's very long and small and adorable, but also long. But also adorable.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. All right, guys. Thank you for listening. I love you, Justin.
Love you too.
Love you guys. All right. Get you later.
See you next
Bye.
week.